Hello guys, hello. Welcome to the second part of the if then else video. So I hope you learned a thing or two from the first part. So this second part might be a bit longer than the first because of how I want to go into details explaining some of the concepts behind why we do things the way they have been done, in Python. So I would like to go over what we had in the last class. And okay, so let me go into my desktop environment. So if else, all right. So these are the things we had in the last class. A summary of what we had in the last class. The if then else is a control statement used in Python for decision making. So we have this. It's a control statement used in Python for decision making, particularly branching. So it gives that control whereby you want a particular aspect of your code to run if a condition is met, and some other part if the condition is not met. So then the if statements evaluate an expression and we execute the follow-up block of code if only when the condition is true. If the condition resolves to be false, then the else statement is executed. So that is also buttressing the point of the control statement. So the if part of your code works when the condition is true and the else works when the condition is false. So this part also reinforces it that if statement relies heavily on Boolean values and Boolean expression. So that is just summarizing the things we worked on in the last video in the last class. So and hopefully in this video I can explain more, do one or two projects, then explain the concepts behind some of the things. So let's move on to what we have. So the first thing I would like us to do in this class using the if else is to build a kind of program, or write a program rather, that checks if a number is even or odd. So and how we're going to do that, let's start that by apologies, I'm not using any should I call it code editor, because I just want us to be as close to the original thing as possible, things like the indentation and how something like that matters and how to get it. Some of these text editors or code editors offers some plugins that makes that easier for you, but I want you to see the reasons why things like that works the way they work. For example, instead of writing your code here, for example, if I'm creating a new file, part 2, all right, so if I make a mistake here, it gets to tell me directly. I feel like this is more of a crude tutorial than using a code editor, something like that. There's nothing against it. I have nothing against it. I use it myself, but for this tutorial I'm just choosing to go along with this. So what exactly we're trying to do is writing a program to check if number is even or odd. So the first thing we want to check when that comes in is we're getting the input value. So let's print first. So welcome to, let's say, odd even checker. All right, so the next thing I want you to do is you want to get a value. You want to get a value from the user. Let's get that from the input statement, enter number. So once the value has been obtained, we want to like convert the value to an integer, because that allows us to properly check if the number is, you know, even or odd. So let's wrap the integer constructor. This is an integer constructor. I'm still gonna like explain this later in future, you know, why and how we came about all of these things, but just know that the int, you know, is an integer constructor. So, and it allows us to transform our values from one, you know, form to another. So like converting strings to integer. Those are convertible strings, by the way. So you can't convert something like a name to an integer. No, you can only convert an integer as in a form of an integer to an actual integer. So just to show us what that really meant, what I just said. So for example, this is what I meant. So G is equals to 6. I mean, it's easy for you can convert G to an integer straight up, but if G were to be, for example, a goat, you can't convert this. You know, it's an invalid literal. So that was what I meant. So the conversion of strings to integer are for, you know, the ones that are available, you know, like the 0 to 1, who happen to be string in their form, or whichever way they exist, and you can convert it to integers, not just any random, you know, string. So let's continue from where we stopped. So we're converting our value to integer. So then we want to check. So here we're checking, or better still, check if number is odd or even. I'll check. So now, if this is where our if comes to play. So if our number is even, how do we check if our number is even, or how do we check if our number is odd? So like there's one thing we need to know, like all the numbers we have in the world, like be it a billion, be it 527, be it 3,658, whatever it is, okay, it is a multiple of any of this number, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, again, and 10. It's a multiple of one of any of these numbers. So now, with no even numbers, as numbers that are, you know, like divisible evenly by 2 without any remainders. So that's why it's called even numbers. So in order for us to check that, we will be implementing the modulus operator, and what that means is, let me just get us out for a moment. Okay. Alright, let me just get us out for a moment and let's run our Python. This is what I mean by the modulus function. Modulus functions works by the remainder, like, you know, what remains. For example, 5, you know, modulus 2 gives us 1. It means the number of times 2 can go in 5, that 2 times remains 1. So the remainder is what we're talking about here. That's, you know, the modulus, the result of the modulus we're talking about. So like 3 modulus 2 as well is going to like give us 1. Get 4 modulus 2 is going to give us 0. So this logic is what we're going to be implementing inside of our program. So let's return that. So check if number is odd or even, then we are calling that number. So if one moment please. If value, all right, is divisible evenly by 2, okay, what that means is value, if the modulus of that value is equal to like 0, we know the number is even. So then print number is even, okay, else print the number is odd. All right, so I'm also going to like explain, you know, the indentation and how it works, so why we have the indentation here and all of that. So let's save this and run our program. If else 2.py. So it's asking me to enter the number I want to, like, you know, run. So let's say 3. The number is odd. So let's run that again. Enter your number 567. Number is odd. So let's run it again. 1020. Number is even. So why does this work? This works because every number is a multiple of, you know, 2, 3, 4 down to 10, regardless of the size or how big the number is. It's a multiple of each of those numbers. So like 2, if 2 is like even, like if 2 divides number like evenly, then it's even. But if it doesn't divide the number evenly, then it's odd. So yeah, that is that. But I think my explanation might be a little bit somehow. I'm talking about, you know, multiple of numbers, blah blah blah, like that. Might not be applicable, but I think, you know, I think that works for prime numbers. Yeah, I think that works for prime numbers. So, but this, you know, uses the if else block properly. So I would like us to write another program. You know, this is a simple password checker program. So using the if statement, to simulate the login procedure of a system. So I'll be going on to that now. I hope, you know, we got the explanation of this and how it works. So let's get on to that. So I'll be creating a third one here. So in this case, what we're doing is writing a password checker program. You know, writing a password checker program, you know, simulating the login procedure of a system. So how does that work? How does this work? So let's start by, you know, let's just start by saying, you know, welcome to AT Securities. Oh, okay. Is this the correct spelling of securities? Yeah, let us just slide for now. So welcome to AT Securities. Then obviously this is not exact, you know, way a secure system works. We're just trying to like simulate the login procedure, you know, using the if else statement. So what we're going to have here is that let's declare a variable called, or let's assign a value to a variable called like a password. So the password is secret, let's call it secret key. Right? So, and we want to get the value from the user. So let's say imputed value is equals to the, let's request the input from the user, enter password, all right. So if this is where the if statement comes to play as well. So if the imputed value is the same, which means equals to the password that we declared over here, if the imputed value that we're getting from this point is the same, then we want to print something. Print, let's say you are now you are now, logged in. Welcome. All right, let's go with that. You're now logged in. Welcome. So else, let's print whole. Wrong password. So this also uses the if else statement to check if the user has the correct password or not. So if the password is correct, it prints you're now logged in, welcome. If else, it's print wrong password combination. So let's save this and let's run it. So we'll call my Python 3 loader, else 3.py. Oh, okay, there's an error here. So what the error is that I began with a double quote and I ended it with a single quote. So the system doesn't understand that, and you need to be consistent with whatever it is you're using. So if it's single, then you have to end with a single. If it's double, you have to end with double, like we have here. So that's really, really important as well. So you get it. Welcome to AT Securities. Enter your password. If it's, so let's say I'm entering Alarmic Gold K and oh, wrong password. So that doesn't work. So if I run the program again and I'm entering secret key, like we have it, so it says you're now logged in, welcome. So this is a simple password checker program just using the if statement. So like there's nothing really technical here. This is basic. Obviously a more robust system is safer, and there's some industry standard way of making sure that passwords are kept safe and all of that. So but this is just a simplistic model of how such a system operates. So there's one thing we could add to this just to make it a little bit above just the if else by adding the ELIF statement. So let me just impute that just to show us how that works. Over here we could have the ELIF, which is similar to if else combined together. Else if the value, as if imputed value is equals to guessed, then we want to print okay guests, you are highly welcome. So now what happens is, if the imputed value turns out to be the password, then it prints you are now logged in, welcome. Okay, else if the imputed value is guessed, then it say okay, guess, you're highly welcome. Else it prints oh, wrong password. So what happens with the else if is that it has to be, if it's neither the password which we declared above nor the guessed, then it returns to it defaults to the print or wrong password. I hope you understand this now. So what that means is, let's try and run this. Okay, let's call wrong password, guessed, oh guessed, you're highly welcome. So it's, if either the password which we declared earlier, the secret key, or guessed is imputed, it gives us a positive response. Otherwise, just show us oh, wrong password imputed. So how can we also make this? Can we make this system such that, is it possible for us to make the system such that it doesn't terminate immediately unless the password is either correct? Can I just repetitively keep on asking the user for a password until a correct one is imputed? Yes, that is very possible. That is very possible using another form of control statement called loops. So loops are used for iterating over a statement, or like a given sequence, or like an array or a list of anything. So like a loop is used for looping through that. I'm sorry for using looping, but basically what it means is that loops are used for going over a statement or a given sequence. So in Python we have two kind of loops. We have the for loop, we have the while loop. So in this example, in this video, I will just only be talking about the while loop. Yeah. So because the while loop is what we're going to be employing here. So in Python, the while loop is used to execute a block of statements repeatedly until a given condition is satisfied. It is used for executing like a block of statement repeatedly until a given condition is satisfied. So before I go on into adding a while loop into this, basically what we want to do is to make the user, or to make the system repeatedly ask the user for a password until the correct one is given to us. But before I go on into adding a while loop into this, I just want to explain to us what a block of statements or a block of code means in Python. So indentation is a big thing in Python. It's a really big deal. It's one of the unique features of Python, because a lot of languages out there, either it's properly indented or not, it just goes through the compiler and works and it's fine. So but in Python it's quite different. Indentation means a lot. So for example, by indenting a line, okay, it's what I mean by indent is the spaces from here. For example, these are on the same line. I choose to indent this. All right. So by indenting the line, it becomes a block. Okay. So a block is kind of like one or more consecutive line indexed by the same amount. I don't know if that makes sense to us. So for example, if I had another print, would you like to reserve a seat for the next meeting? So I'm just assuming this is how it works. So now both of these print statements, all right, both of these print statements are a block. Okay, both of these, why? Because they are indented by the same amount of spaces. All right, so and like I tell us, or like I also shared in the previous class, that whenever you see a colon here, this symbol, it means that there is a follow-up statement, and usually an indentation is needed. All right, so we can remove this. Just to explain, just to like wrap it up, this print line is a block of code. Okay, a block is one or more consecutive line of codes that are indented by the same amount. This print as well stands as its own block, and this as well stands as its own block. So a block can be multiple lines. It could be a lot of lines, it could be one line. Okay, just indented by the same amount. So now introducing a while statement into this, we'll have to like add two more, or let's just say one more. So let's add a value to this that stands correct to true. Okay, so and so we want to have while correct is not equals to true. Okay, this was, let's make this false rather. It makes more sense like this. So while correct is not equals to true, we want to do something here. Now watch this. All of this indentation that I'm correcting now all of this together is a block. I hope that makes sense to us. So all of this is a block. So now why correct is not equals to true, we want the system to keep throwing this at the user. And there's one thing we need to bring. This needs to be inside. Let's copy that and okay, just to arrange this, I would like to bring this down as well. So let's just print welcome to AT Securities. Right, so yeah, right, yeah, I think this is what we want. So if the password is correct, there's one thing we want to do. We want to update the value of correct variable there to be true now. Okay, and if it's also a guess, we want to like update it to be correct as well, to be true. So now let's save this and run our program. So if we run our program now, welcome to AT Securities. Now let's enter wrong password, trust. Oh, okay, there's an error there. That's on line 17. Let's check that. Oh, okay, you sent it. So running our program, okay, or wrong password, you can see it's, you know, asks for the password again. So the program does not terminate. It doesn't terminate until, you know, it's either correct or it's a guessed. So guessed. Now, okay, guessed, you're highly welcome. So now I think we understand the, you know, like the dynamism that, you know, the while loop brought into the program. So this video also serves as like an introduction to loops and, you know, and more control statements in Python. So in this video we used the if statement, the else if, which in Python is the ELIF statement. We also use the else, and we also introduced the while loop into the system, into the class. So I'm hopeful that, you know, this video, you know, has, you know, taught us one or two things and that you liked it. So please do hit the like and subscribe button to get notified for more content, you know. Thank you. See you in the next one.